You know, I kind of feel like it's time for a new hat. Thanks, Bobby Shmurda. So we all expected the Nintendo Switch to have a pretty sizable 2021, but some very interesting things have been happening lately with not only software for the system, but on the hardware side of things. We of course got the introduction of the Mario themed Nintendo Switch, but last night we were introduced to yet another new Nintendo Switch console, the Monster Hunter themed one. So in this video, I basically want to talk about these systems and dig a bit deeper than just the surface level with them, because I think the timing of these systems, along with the implications of what they can do for the Nintendo Switch market, along with the future of the hardware itself, is actually a way more interesting situation. What's going on, guys? I'm RGT85. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and shoutouts to Bobby Shmurda for the new hat. Now, without any further ado, let's talk about these new Nintendo Switch variants and what they actually mean for the Nintendo Switch going forward. So over a week ago, we of course were introduced to Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. We actually got to learn what Bowser's Fury actually was, which is this open world segment of Super Mario 3D World that is being added. Of course, Super Mario 3D World was a big hit on the Nintendo Wii U, but you can only be so big of a hit on the Wii U without really reaching out to another marketplace. It sold 5 million plus copies, which was fantastic for the Nintendo Wii U, considering that system only sold about 13 million, but obviously the life cycle of this game is going to be a lot larger on the Nintendo Switch, and I feel like the introduction of Bowser's Fury will make people who are even die-hard fans of the game on the Wii U want to check this game out on the Nintendo Switch because of the additional features. But of course, one of the other interesting things was the introduction of a brand new Nintendo Switch system, a Mario themed bundle. Now this bundle will be launching worldwide on February 12th, the same day as Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury releases. Now in this system, you have a red Nintendo Switch and a red Nintendo Switch dock. Now we've seen sort of different variants with the Nintendo Switch system, but this is actually taking the system and making it a different color, which I believe is the first time we have seen something like this as far as on this scale is concerned, and I think it looks pretty cool, honestly. Some people feel that it's a bit too red for their liking. Me personally, I like the way it looks, and I low-key kind of want to buy one. Beyond that, you of course have red and blue Joy-Cons that are themed in sort of a Mario color scheme. You have a red and blue carrying case as well, and the Nintendo Switch grip for the Joy-Cons is a blue itself. There's really no love to the kickstand, however. If you look at the back of the system, the kickstand is still exactly the same with that sort of matte gray color, but I really like the way this system looks. I think it's a very interesting looking system, and you know, it's pretty much uniting the Bloods and the Crips with the red and the blue, which I feel like Mario has always been trying to teach us that, you know, we shouldn't be arguing with each other and fighting with each other. We should be united and working together to solve issues. So good job, Mario. Good job for teaching us a lesson that we really didn't realize you were teaching us this whole time. Last night, however, we were introduced to yet another new Nintendo Switch bundle, and I think this one's a bit more interesting than even the Mario one is, and that is a Monster Hunter Rise Nintendo Switch bundle. Now, at the time of the filming of this video, it has been confirmed for every region except the US. I don't know if that's going to change. I've been looking at Nintendo of America's Twitter account this morning, but as of right now, it's been confirmed for Australia, Europe, Japan, but not in the United States for whatever reason. Now, this bundle is once again a pretty interesting looking bundle. It will be releasing on March 26th of 2021, the same day as Monster Hunter Rise releases. You get a Monster Hunter themed Nintendo Switch console. You get Monster Hunter themed Joy-Cons that have a little bit of gold on them. I actually like the way that looks. I'm a big fan of gold. I think gold is just fantastic. I guess you could call me gold member or something like that. You get a Monster Hunter themed Nintendo Switch dock. And this also comes with a digital deluxe copy of Monster Hunter Rise that includes the DLC that will be releasing for the game as well. And beyond that, there is a Monster Hunter themed Nintendo Switch Pro controller as well. Now, these aren't just stickers or anything on the Nintendo Switch or the dock or anything itself. This is actually engraved on the system, so it's not just like a little, you know, simple decal or anything like that. This is actually a prominent thing with this Monster Hunter Rise bundle for the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, a lot of time and effort is being put into this system to make it something a bit special, and I do think it looks very special. But once again, the kickstand gets absolutely no no love. What is with Nintendo and kickstands? Why are they so anti-kickstands? Like, this is the simplest thing to do because you could just pop it off and, you know, put another kickstand on there. Why won't you do anything with this kickstand, Nintendo? You're a bunch of weirdos, man. So now that we know about what these systems are and what they're bringing to the marketplace, we have to talk about the implications of what releasing these systems do for the Nintendo Switch going on in the future, because I think there's a lot of interesting things that people aren't really necessarily thinking about. The first thing we're going to talk about is the timing of the release of both of these systems. Like I said, the Mario bundle is coming out on February 12th. The Monster Hunter Rise bundle is coming out on March 26th. Now, if you follow Nintendo financial related things, you would know that their fiscal year ends on March 31st of 2021. So both of these systems are launching before the end of the fiscal year. And obviously these systems are going to be very hot items. When you look at Mario in the United States, pretty much worldwide, when you think of Nintendo, you tend to think of Mario. He's pretty much the poster boy for Nintendo. You could put Mario on anything such as cereal and people will want to scalp it, and it will be a high item that a lot of people will want. And when you look at Monster Hunter in Japan especially, Monster Hunter has that same sort of Mario clout to it. Monster Hunter is super popular in Japan. Monster Hunter is one of the best-selling franchises in Japan. So by introducing a Nintendo Switch bundle into the Japanese marketplace and then in other regions as well, with the additional features of having some cool customization stuff on the system itself, and of course including Monster Hunter Rise Deluxe Digital Edition that will get you all of the DLC, this thing is going to sell extremely well, just like the Mario system is going to sell extremely well. But both of these systems are launching before the end of the fiscal year. Now, is Nintendo necessarily struggling to get system sales for the Nintendo Switch worldwide? Like, no, if anything, it's been beyond that. It's been the complete polar opposite of that. 2020 saw the Nintendo Switch be the #1 selling console literally in every region. Every month, the Nintendo Switch, whether you're talking about NPD or Media Create sales for Japan, was the best selling system. 2019 was pretty much the same situation. So it's not like Nintendo necessarily needs to introduce system variants in order to spruce up Nintendo Switch sales to end the fiscal year. Like, they have absolutely dominated 2020. They absolutely dominated 2019. And it doesn't seem like the system is slowing down anytime soon. Something I've been saying a bit on things like the Spawncast, which you should be watching that every Saturday night, is I feel like the Japanese home console marketplace is quickly becoming like non-existent. You know, one of the questions that was asked was what I thought about Sony sort of pandering more to the West than they did the traditional Japanese marketplace. And I think that's kind of a smart decision because the home console market in Japan is shriveling. When you look at dedicated home consoles, nothing is really selling right now beyond the Nintendo Switch system because of the hybrid nature of the system being a portable and a home console. So it's not like Nintendo is struggling for system sales or anything like that. So why are we introducing all of these new system variants that of course use traditional Nintendo Switch parts, traditional Nintendo Switch components right before the end of the fiscal year? Oh boy, we need some tinfoil. I actually don't have any tinfoil right now, so I'm gonna do something a bit different. Things are quickly spiraling out of control here, but we're gonna put on our Doc Brown hair because we're gonna get into some weird stuff here, because I think these two systems really go to show that something is happening with the Nintendo Switch as far as a revised model coming to the marketplace. Now, you might think I'm crazy, but that's fine. I'm sure a lot of people think I'm crazy, but looking at how Nintendo traditionally does things with their handhelds, I think you might be able to make a case with this. When you look at systems like the DS and the Nintendo 3DS, think of how many different variants there were of these systems. You had the Nintendo DS Lite, you had the Nintendo DSi. With the 3DS, you of course had the 2DS, the 2DS XL, the 3DS XL, the new Nintendo 3DS. But when these systems would always come out, a few months beforehand, you would always see a system variant of the standard model that was already available on the market, whether it was the DS or the Nintendo 3DS. And you saw it time and time again. Sometimes you even saw variants come out for the older systems after the newer systems had come out. But just to focus on this, Nintendo was always making different variants right up until they went along and announced and released these upgraded Nintendo 3DS or 2DS systems. And we've heard so much stuff about the Nintendo Switch Pro at this point in time. It's just kind of like, they're releasing both of these systems right before the end of the fiscal year. And obviously, with the upcoming fiscal year coming up, they're going to want to do something to continue to drive Nintendo Switch sales as far as hardware and software is concerned. Obviously, software is going to be a big focus for 2021, but I feel like you can't discount the fact that all of this is sort of leading up to something that could potentially be involving the Nintendo Switch Pro. And I know people are tired of hearing about this Nintendo Switch Pro or this Nintendo Switch revision, but you have so many pieces of evidence leading us to believe that there is going to be a revised Nintendo Switch model introduced this year, with things like data leaks, with things like developers even talking about this system now. I just feel like there's so much smoke going on with this situation. And now the fact that you're releasing a Nintendo Switch variant for Super Mario Brothers, a Nintendo Switch variant for Monster Hunter Rise, two very popular franchises in their respective regions that's going to sell extremely well, you're going to be able to get rid of things like your traditional Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, your traditional Nintendo Switch dock, which you can now only order from Nintendo's official online store. You can't get it from GameStop, you can't get it from Amazon, you can't get it from Walmart. The only place to get a standard Nintendo Switch dock is through Nintendo's website. Like, do you not see all this puzzle stuff coming together here? 1.21 gigawatts of power will be powering the Nintendo Switch Pro, and it's coming tomorrow. I need to calm down. So yes, I think that all of this stuff is not just a coincidence. It is not a coincidence that Nintendo is releasing two bundles of very popular franchises, one being Mario and one being Monster Hunter, right before the end of the fiscal year. I don't think it's a coincidence that we've heard so much stuff about a Nintendo Switch Pro model coming out, and this would be a great way for Nintendo to get rid of parts for a standard Nintendo Switch in order to sort of start focusing on this Nintendo Switch Pro. The Switch Pro, Switch Revision or something is always just going to simply be an option, but you don't want to have too much stock of your standard Nintendo Switches laying around. So what better way to get rid of some of this stuff that you have than to, of course, do these variants of the systems that are already available on the marketplace that people are obviously going to gravitate towards. Even if these are just two simple Nintendo Switch variants, I think it's a very cool thing, simply because of the fact that this is something Nintendo used to do a lot. Look at the N64. There were so many cool color variants of that, and the Nintendo Switch really hasn't been getting that sort of love, but I definitely think there's a lot more to this situation than necessarily meets the eye, and I think you got to sort of look a bit below the surface level with this to sort of realize that. But once you think about it, I think it makes a pretty compelling case. So let me know in the comment section down below what you think of all this. Do you plan on picking up the Mario or the Monster Hunter Nintendo Switch bundle? Do you think this is sort of paving the path to more Nintendo Switch variants coming? Do you think that this paves the path to the Nintendo Switch Pro or Nintendo Switch Revision? And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comment section down below. Once again, big shout out to Bobby Shmurda for throwing up his hat in the air and sending it to me. I know that was a big mystery, like whatever happened to Bobby Shmurda's hat, it went directly to me. So thank you, buddy, for the hat. And as always, folks, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.